So let's get into this one. He has another one I was going to get into, but this one is a little closer to home for me. So let's do it.
Angela, are progressive policies hurting people in Portland, Oregon?
In so many ways, it's almost like, how do I even narrow it down? Absolutely. Number one, cost of living is driving businesses out, which is changing business and the economic conditions. I think one of the biggest things people know about Portland for is our homelessness and our mental health
Yeah.
issues. We've got more people in unsheltered homelessness on a lot of different graphs than any other city, or we're in the top 5 in the nation. We have mental health problems that are just left out on the street. We've got public safety issues where they've unfunded our jails and our criminal justice
Right.
system. I mean, there's so many people harmed, Peter. I don't even know. I mean, I could keep going, but yeah,
So,
it's a
sounds
real
like a great
problem.
place. So what?
I was thinking the last time we had a show together was 2021 and you were here. And
Yeah,
so I was thinking a lot's happened, but not really.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
gotten worse.
So what are the, I had Brian Dalgreen on the show. So what are the policies? Well, let's just take them one by one. What are the policies about homelessness? Because when I go to a place like Naples, or it doesn't matter, like I notice a stark difference. Like blue cities and blue states have high homelessness. Red cities and red states don't. I can't think of an exception to that, but again, I haven't traveled in every state. So what are the blue cities and blue states like? What is Portland not doing?
Sweet.
The
Still here.
biggest piece, I mean, we had the complications, of course, of Measure 110, I'm sorry, which was the decriminalization of drugs. But really, it has to do with this housing first policy, which
Hmm.
is that if somebody is mentally ill or they're using drugs, and frankly, even our county numbers in Portland say that's about 70% of the people out there on the streets, they want to
Jeez.
house them first.
Wow, 70
And
70.
percent.
it
Yeah.
sounds, for people that are compassionate, it's like, well, you can't get anything done unless you have a home. And while that may be true, what that looks like is we're using public dollars to put people in housing. Their overdoses go up because then they're not sort of getting by day to day on the street,
Right.
getting cans and money, and they have more time to just use. And it also has created environments where the organized crime element is using these units to sell drugs, traffic people. I mean, it is really something. And you have situations where people are continuing to use, harm one another. You have some people that are sober in these environments.
And so many of these policies, like, they do come from a good place in most circumstances, but they're so exploited that it's just like, yeah, it's like feeding raccoons. It's like they're just going to keep coming back. You're making the situation worse.
Can't stay
Right.
sober. It's just a really expensive, ineffective housing first. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah. So Schellenberger in San Francisco talks about that very extensively.
He
Shelter
does.
first, housing earned, and what are the complications for? Okay, so I'm truly, Angela, I'm genuinely trying to figure this out. If it is true, and let's just assume for the purpose of the conversation, it is true that this is what the data and evidence show, why don't people do that? There must be some ideological reason. Why are people giving? Why aren't they incentivizing sobriety? Why isn't it shelter first, housing earned? What do they think is going to happen when they just give people a house?
I think it's the money grift. What we have in Oregon is we have an environment where we have an ethos where growing government is a priority. The public unions are very much in charge here, and the nonprofits that are funded by the politicians, and it's a
Yeah,
vicious
yeah.
loop. And we've all heard this for many years in many different situations. Follow the money, and I have
Right,
to
right.
say, being an activist for a decade, that is the conclusion that I've come to. There are
Hmm.
the haves and the have-nots, and there are people that are there's a lot of people and infrastructure and programs that are profiting from people's suffering. It's really awful.
Interesting. So you think you just think it's all about the Benjamins, all about the dollars, that's why people are doing this?
Yeah, I do. You know, one of the historical things that we've talked about on our channel that a lot of people don't know or didn't know before we spoke about, for example, was when we decriminalized drugs. Right before that, our state had applied for a substance use disorder that gave housing to people that were using. And so, what we did is we sort of put out a whistle call to all addicts in the nation. Come on,
Come
we
on, yeah.
got you. I mean,
And
this is the place.
I've watched several videos of like on the streets, especially here in Portland. Not just Portland, but mainly like 90% of what I watch. And it's a lot of them, they're like, oh, I came here when it got decriminalized because it was a place to live as a homeless person. And it's just like a lot of them said that. And I didn't expect it to hear from that many. And it was like, wow, okay, Portland, that really fucking backfired. And it's just like, and you didn't know how to accept all these people coming in that are just going to do it for that reason. You don't know how to rehabilitate them. You don't have a solution after your half-baked solution. So it's just like, you just made things so much worse.
One of the cities that is really easy to use drugs. There's not consequences. And frankly, the cartel knows that too. This is a good place for business. It's a great place for business.
And so I think it's interesting that that when you talked about the financial incentives, that it's not incompetence or ideology, it's just money. I've
Money,
always
yeah.
just assumed that they latched on to the wrong ideas, and that so maybe I'm
No,
I'm
yeah.
trying to think this stuff out too, because
Not when you look at places like California where it's just been ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. They don't care. It's just heartlessness. They don't care. And somehow liberals can't understand that. It's just one of those things where it's like, please just stop for a second and understand that people are that fucking heartless. I know it's hard to understand. It took me a long time to just be like, no way, the world's not that cold. It is. Some people are just that heartless.
it's so conspicuous again when you travel and when you
It's
look at the
money.
data. And Schellenberger
That's
has
all they care about.
subsequently pretty much spelled out the data. So, what would a sane, rational, reasonable you're laughing. Like,
I'm
what would just
sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, I just shouldn't all policies be
I love
apolitical?
that
Shouldn't they
you're
all
I
be
love
like
that you're so
data?
pragmatic. I'm not like I'm opinionated because I have been in meetings and we have shared evidence-based kind of things. We have talked about the stories of how this has harmed people. And while
Yeah.
I do think that some people are very sort of ideologically captured for sure, I think that some of those people even are very compassionate. It's also the system is so big, and a lot of people just have this little piece.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
they're it's like so complicated, the problem here, from how things get talked about, how people think about it, what our local mainstream media is willing to say.
That's a
And
huge problem. Yeah, that's a huge problem.
yeah,
So I would just want to linger on
It's
that for a second.
because
So I
people
remember
still have trust in the major institutions, and one of them is media. And it's 2026, and people actually still listen to legacy media is beyond me. It's like factual but not truthful. They'll tell you that something happened, but they'll mislead you as to why it happened. And it's Michael Malice coined that term, factual but not truthful. And it's just like it's so on the money.
in
But for people who are still believing in that sort of thing, it's it's hard for them to understand even the basic concepts of this. And again, they're not stupid. They're good-hearted people who are naive enough to believe that certain institutions wouldn't do this sort of thing.
COVID, they would always, when people were clearly rioting, hurting people, destroying stuff, they would say they're protesting. And I would, put out tweets. These are not like the words that you use, and you have a kind of journalistic responsibility to maintain integrity so people will trust you. You have to use the right words. And I don't mean to be pedantic, but those things matter. The other
Right.
thing that's interesting to me, the current mayor of Portland ran on a platform. I can't remember his exact words, but something like reads, "Find the
To
tweet
house
that I put out
everybody
about
in
this."
1 year.
Yeah,
You
and I
know?
bet him. I
What?
think I bet him $10,000 publicly that he
Yeah.
could not do that. I mean, that would have been the
Did
easiest
Mayor
money I've
Wilson
ever.
get back with you on that?
Well, I mean, of course not, because I think
What
he's
did
a
he say?
pathological liar. Like, he's either a complete fool, if you actually believe that. But the thing is, people voted for him. People voted for someone who was an inveterate liar. I mean, I guess, Hitler said, if you're going to lie, you might as well do the big lie.
They
And that's
really, really
that's a huge lie.
people have really underestimated this issue, and it's continued to grow in Portland despite the fact that we continue to give it more money. And they just want to hear that it's simple. And I would
Yeah.
say, and
It's not a
maybe this
simple
makes me
fix.
sound like I'm to the right of center, but it's kind of like, I don't think this problem is going to be resolved by the government. I mean, I think that they've taken away from some of the faith based systems and not even funding those, which, you may be like, well, of course, you need to take out the faith based. And Peter, I'm aware of your atheism, but I'm saying that like
It's like
AA.
I have a disease. I'm aware.
No,
I'm
no,
aware
Yeah,
no.
that
your
you
I'm just,
have like
condition.
I'm
your
just
genital
commenting. I'm going to
herpes.
bring up faith. No, I didn't mean it that way. I just
Yeah.
meant I
Sorry about
understand
that,
that,
by
but
the
I'm
way.
saying these programs are about that, like AA. It's about higher power and like taking some responsibility for yourself. Like I didn't
Yeah,
even bring up the whole harm reduction thing here. It's
yeah.
insane. I mean, we spend money giving out boofing kits for telling people how to put drugs up their butt. We give people needles, pipes, foil, condoms.
Reed,
We
Reed
give them
wants to know
Narcan.
where he can get that information.
Yeah.
I'm happy to send you a flyer. I'm not kidding.
Oh my God.
And then
No,
and then
no,
our
I
state
just
like
learned
sends.
that term. I just learned that term recently, and I'm like, oh wow, that's like not even a
Boofing
term.
kids.
There's enough people who do that there's an actual term for it. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
There's a
you need
community of
directions
boofers.
You
to
you
stick it
need
where the
directions.
sun
Get those
doesn't
to read
shine.
immediately before he
Yeah,
injures
yeah.
himself.
We've
Um,
done stuff where we go to some of these harm reduction needle exchanges. I have to tell you, we haven't done it in a while because we're kind of disgusted. But
yeah.
but
There
my
we go.
partner is, wore a hoodie and gone up and asked and so forth and asked for treatment. And they don't even, they're like, well, we'll have to get back with you. We don't have anything here. Okay, well,
Oh, I think I recognize her now. Is she the one that goes along with the guy that I watch? I think she might have participated with him. Or maybe they're on the channel together. I'll have to go back and watch that and see.
why don't you write down this phone number? We can't give you this card, and then call this person, and maybe they can help you with the county. And
So
we've called, and you would not believe what it's like if you're ready. And if you know anything about addiction, there are moments where people are ready. And if
yeah.
it could be hours later, 12 hours later, if it takes 3 weeks to get into rehab. And by the way, it does here often, or even longer. You have to stand in line at 5 a.m. and they turn away people. I mean, and the drug dealers are right there on the block waiting for them.
Wow.
I mean, it's just, it is so. Part of just what we've done is just try in vivid detail to tell people what's really going on, because our media has done such a poor job, sort of almost being. I'm going to be really strong on this and say that I feel that they're part of the political capture that's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're an organ of the Democratic Party. But so I want to dwell on, or I want to talk about
Welcome
the
to the fucking
idea of
show.
harm reduction. So is the
Like, I
idea, and
realized
I've
that in
also been
2015.
to a facility where they supply needles to people. Although they looked at me, they didn't wear a hoodie, and they looked at me very suspiciously when I went in. So is the idea
But they
that if
bought
you
they
give
bought it. It's important.
yeah, they well, eventually, yeah. Is the idea that if you provide drug paraphernalia to people, that they will then be less likely to injure themselves or die of an overdose? So the
Probably
state
not.
has to have some mechanism to um, ensure their safety. Is that the idea?
It's the idea. I think the argument whenever we had needles here, whenever
Mm.
fentanyl came in, you can't inject fentanyl, right? So when it was meth, and it was heroin, which was a problem in Portland before fentanyl came in on the scene. I'm not great with dates, but I want to say it was around 2003, 2023, somewhere in there, maybe 22. And then all of a sudden, the needles were not all over our
Screens
public
reversed.
streets and parks and so
2022 or 2002? Let me back that up.
It's the idea. I think the argument whenever we had needles here, whenever fentanyl came in, you can't inject fentanyl, right? So when it was meth, and it was heroin, which was a problem in Portland before fentanyl came in on the scene.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
I'm not
heroin.
great with
Yeah.
dates, but I want to say it was around 2003, 2023.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that. She corrected herself and I just didn't hear that part.
Somewhere in there, maybe 22. And then all of a sudden, the needles were not all over our
Screens
public
reversed.
streets and parks and so forth. You still see them, but it's not as much. So they moved into pipes and giving out aluminum foil
Oh
and things
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I would say that it's really about the way they sell it is, hey, we want to engage with them, but when we have talked to other people and then finally we
Yeah.
tried to say, hey, I want to get some help, how do I do that, the
Oh
harm
yeah, yeah.
reduction, they're not really into that. And I want to paint a picture. So this is pretty common in Portland. You have a tent. It may get moved because things are cleaned up here now quite a bit. You'll move a block or two away, but while you are in that camp, before the weeks it takes to clean it up, you might have during the day somebody bring you food. You if you lose your tent, which sometimes they do with retaliation, or they just leave it behind when they're swept or whatever, everything is sort of given to you. And the drug dealers just, I mean, it is sort of like Uber Eats. And if
Oh, wow.
certain places you can just watch them come and sell,
Just talking about a
nothing's
game,
done
not
about
this.
it.
This is
When
terrible.
you call, it's not necessarily like anyone's going to come and address it. It's the way that it has festered here is so we're a little bit like frogs in a pot. I still see it, I think, but when I have people come into town and they're just like, I cannot believe this.
I love that word fester. I think that's perfect. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the homeless
That's a good way to put
Yeah.
it,
excuse me,
actually.
situation.
Fester.
And
It
I
just
asked, are
got worse
progressive
and worse.
policies hurting people in Portland and more broadly Oregon? You said yes. And then you itemized them. So the second thing is you said businesses. Now I know many, many businesses are leaving the city of Portland. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I have a guy I used to do jujitsu with. He was telling me that he works in a building maintenance, and he was telling me that many of he's losing jobs now because the buildings can't get insurance
Yes.
if they're in the downtown area, and so they're leaving.
I've heard
And
that.
so
Well, it's
yeah,
because
can you comment?
it's because of crime and people are just destroying stuff and protests where they just happen on the regular and people are just allowed to destroy stuff. I remember when that was happening when I worked downtown. I was like, why is everybody just okay with this? Yeah, well, you got a virtue signal and you got to be cool with it. Otherwise, you're not part of the cult. So
On that?
Yeah. So, in addition to the homeless issue, we had talked previously about the protests, some of which definitely went into flat out riots, and
Correct.
also
it happens all the time.
damaged businesses. Stole from them, broke their windows, those type of things. Some of those people, a lot of them lost their insurance or their deductibles were something like $20,000 or more, and so they don't even want to turn it in. And speaking of insurance, we've also had on the what do we want to call it, the affordable housing, the government housing or the nonprofit
Yeah.
housing, they're having a hard time with their insurance policies too, because they're moving people who don't have mental health or drug treatment in these buildings, and they're leaving their water on, they're not taking care of things. I mean, just a number of things. Whenever you're outside for that long,
Wow.
you don't really know how to properly take care of yourself or your space. and fires. I mean, I could go on, shootings. I mean, the insurance policies are pretty considerable in those places. Not to mention, sometimes people steal things in the unit because they're worth money to sell them. So
Yeah, it's interesting. When the last time I was in Portland with Travis, I was we were in a I always mix up New Seasons and Whole Foods. I can never remember which is which, but
me too.
we were in
It's the same thing.
yeah, we were in one of those stores. It was the one on oh, it's been so long from Portland, I can't remember where it was, but it was in the southeast. Um, but we saw this guy who was clearly homeless and he looked drugged out. He had obviously stolen a bag of groceries and he was
Hmm.
walking out of the store. And I said to the guy at the deli, "Hey, this guy's
Should
stealing
we
stuff."
do
He's like,
something? Like the reaction around here, I've noticed. I'm like, well, since I've been back, it's like things are on like lockdown type thing. You have to actually like walk through like electric gates and stuff to get into the store. A lot of the stuff's locked up, and it's just like, oh yeah, things have changed since I was gone. I was only gone like 5 years, but a lot has happened.
"Yeah, don't tell anybody, but we're not allowed to stop them."
Yeah,
And I'm like,
can't do
of course,
nothing.
the first thing I do is I pick up my phone. And I'm like, "Hey, you can steal anything you want." And so I went to the restroom and I came back and another guy was walking out. Another guy was walking out of the
It
business with his own groceries.
And not supposed to do anything, but then that's why all the businesses can't survive there, because this is perpetual, and people are, and the more it happens, the more it happens. So it's like, how do you expect that area to survive? It's not going to.
And that's just not, that's crazy. That's
We've
totally
lost so
unsustainable.
much business because of this. REI is not in Portland anymore. They're kind of a co-op place that sells like
Nike left. When I heard that, I was like, "Whoa!" And that was, they might bring that up because I didn't know this, but the Nike store downtown, was it downtown or somewhere? But it was like legendary, is what kind of like, it was like the first one or something. Somebody was telling me about it, and it was a big start for Nike, and it was a legendary, like iconic spot, and they took off. So
outdoor gear. And of course, you live in Oregon and you put up with Portland. If you live
Yeah.
here, partially because you love the mountains and the rivers and hiking and being outside. And so they sold a lot of outdoor equipment. They left. They're now only in the suburbs. I know people here don't really like the big corporation, but whenever Walmart leaves and the grocery
Yeah,
stores
yeah.
close, I mean, we have some major issues where you have to commute and drive farther to go to grocery, and it increases prices. We have
So
a
can we linger on that for a
hmm,
second? Because
yeah.
I really talk about that. First thing, real quick. Thanks to Mushy Season for the $5. He likes the word fester too. Thanks, and we appreciate uh, Nathaniel Howlett for becoming a member. Thanks, appreciate that. So, what is the thinking behind it? And just I'm I'm really trying to give a charitable interpretation of this. What is the thinking behind letting countless people walk out of the store with groceries? Like, why would somebody think at the
I've talked at
policy
length to
level?
these stores. I mean,
Yeah.
because we have, just real quick before, I was going to say that we have a place where we get our prescriptions. It's a Walgreens and it's closed.
I almost want to say there's a couple reasons, but some of it has to do with the liability the companies don't want to deal with the employees having to go on after the people stealing it. Because if something happens bad, then it's like that the lawsuit that the company would have to deal with for that employee if something bad were to happen, versus just a couple, I guess at this point it'd be a couple $100 of groceries if it was one bag of groceries. Who knows what they got in there? But I would assume that's one of the big reasons. It's not just because it's progressive policies. It's just weighing the odds. But also you can't just let it go on, because then that location is just going to close. But that's probably the long game the company's willing to deal with, if you really think about it. They're like, well, if that location closes, it's better than, a bad lawsuit and bad PR of some, our stores being violent or dangerous type thing.
And it's every time I'm in there, it's very upsetting. And it's a lawsuit thing. And so most of the places have told security it's a
Oh,
hands
it's a
off
lawsuit
situation.
thing. Oh,
Boom, baby. I had a feeling.
interesting. Can I tell you a
Yeah.
quick story? Can I tell you a
Yes,
quick story?
please.
So I used to live in Southeast Portland. This is a great
Like-
story.
I hope
I
hope
used
he says like a location, because I know I know Southeast really really well. I used to live there 10, 12 years ago. And yeah, just that area is rugged. Some spots that are 82nd and Powell is where I used to work, that 7-Eleven TikTok area. Yeah, shootings all the time. Just shootings in the parking lot. It's like, yeah, there's no problem. Just trafficking, apparently, like human trafficking in that area. Sex trafficking. There's prostitutes on pretty much every corner. Tweakers in every little nook and cranny in the bushes. Like, yeah, it's a gnarly area.
excuse me. I used to live in Southeast Portland near Woodstock, and
Yeah.
there was the Fred Meyer. I think it was the Fred Meyers there. Oh no,
Yeah.
I can't. God, it's been so long. I can't even remember. You know, the one on like
Well, I don't know
40th or
Woodstock very
41st.
well.
I used to go grocery shopping there, and around
What did he
50%
say?
of the time,
Hold on.
40th or 41st, I used to go grocery
Okay. Well, I used to work over at Hopworks, so I think that wasn't too far from there.
shopping there. And around 50% of the time, roughly, that I used to go there, somebody used to steal things and they used to, shout at them, etc. And I kind of, because that was the grocery store I always went to, I got to know the manager and the people there. Not, basically socially, hey, Peter, how's it going? I'd say, hey. So I told my son came and visit me. And I said, listen, I'm going to tell you this, and it's going to sound totally crazy to you, but around 50% of the time I go to the store, about 1 out of every 2 trips, somebody is stealing something, and they're running after
It's
them
so
or shouting
common.
at them or chasing them. And so the moment we walked in the store, there was some kind of commotion, and somebody had stolen beer, and the security guard.
It's so nice to hear somebody else talk about this sort of thing. And I'm like, when I tell people this, like, oh, you're just overreacting. It's not that big of a deal. I'm like, I see it like every time I'm in the store. Something shady, something's either on the inside or the outside, or coming from the inside to the outside type thing. It's like, yeah, there's always something like, oh God, am I gonna get shanked?
Was yelling at them and etc. And then I told my son, there we go, we've hit the mark. And then we came out, those little self checkers where you go through. We're in the self checkers, and there's this massive commotion. And I walked over, and the manager was there, and I said to the guy, I think his name is Dan, like, what's that? What just happened? What's going on? I mean, it was an unusually big commotion. And he said, well, you remember the person who stole something? Because I said hi to him when I walked in, and I said, yeah. He said, well, her boyfriend came back into the store and started freaking out,
Oh, my bad.
yelling at his girlfriend.
Yeah, there's no.
Even
I
Reed's
mean,
laughing at that. But
Hold on, I need to go back. I muted it accidentally.
and I said, yeah. He said, well, her boyfriend came back into the store and started freaking out at the security guard for yelling at his girlfriend.
That she stole.
yeah, there's no.
Even
I
Reed's
mean,
laughing at that.
That's how absurd it is, because we've let it go on for so long that they feel so they don't even feel entitled. They don't even know any better anymore. They're like, wait, hold on, somebody did you wrong, babe. I'm gonna head back in there, and it's so like they're unaware, because what has it been, like a decade now of this going on? So it's the negative repercussions at least came with some comedy. Hey, that's kind of funny.
But it's
people are
just
sort
so
of out of
crazy.
there.
Yeah,
it's so absurd that it's just like you don't know what to say at the end of the day. Like, I'm glad that they're touching on it, because I've looked at it. I'm like, I have no idea. Good luck, guys. Have fun. Whatever monster you created with this stupid ass progressive policy mixture, have fun with it.
Yeah, living it is just something. You know, one of the biggest videos that I ever posted, a quick video, was of somebody, you know, our state literally does nothing about the inappropriate and what's the word? Just the waste of what goes on. Like we have this situation where our homeless get food cards, right? Because we want them
Right.
to eat. And so they'll go into the grocery and they'll get water bottles and they will go
Oh yeah, that's
outside and they will
right.
dump
That's
them
right.
in the parking lot and bring them in for 10 cents a piece. And when fentanyl, the prices have gone up a little bit, but there for a little bit, it was like $1
Huh.
a pill. And, you know, they can literally get drugs from that. And
Right.
unlike federal benefit, which requires you to pay your own deposit, you know, your own bottle deposit, this is
Mm.
a moneymaker for them. And
Right. Right.
it was
Right.
it was 20 million views. That's 5 times the over that we of people that we have in the entire state of Oregon that watched that video. We had it was nationally exposed. There were all kinds of people that were asking the
And
government.
you know, aside from California, of course, it would be Portland, Oregon. It's like this is just the land of just people just taking, taking and taking and taking and just living off of everybody else. And it's just, I feel so bad for the people who are living here trying to make an honest living. Just, ugh. But then some of them are so captured and you don't realize it's like you are literally working your life away just to serve these policies that are going nowhere.
Governor, et cetera, about it. It has been exposed before we did it, and nothing has been done about it. And it
Yeah.
happens on any given day. I could get you video of it. And you know, and I think too that if you don't mind, I'd like to zoom in on a little bit of what can happen with these policies. We have an area called Gateway. You might know about it. It's
Ooh, I wonder if she's going to talk about that. There was an incident. Man, when did that happen? I remember there was a stabbing back in like 2017 or something. It was pretty bad. I don't know if it's even relevant to this topic. So, yeah, maybe she won't be bringing that up.
off of Halsey in Southeast Portland, and it is the city of Portland spent a lot of money. They call it TIF districts to really build that up. There was a Fred Meyer there. It's a very big grocery chain that's now, I think they're partially owned by Kroger now, Kroger Corporation, but
Yeah.
they are homegrown Oregon. And this place has been there since I
Oh, I didn't know Fred Meyer was Oregon. Like they're kind of all over because I when I went to college in Washington, there was Fred Meyer there, so I had no idea that it was like Oregon franchise.
believe it was 1930, maybe 1940. I mean, just a really nice nostalgic place. And around it, they built, you know, a Kohl's and they built a Nordstrom Rack. And, you know, it was kind of like a really nice place where you could shop and eat and so forth. Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone. And so
Really?
in our city, I'll tell you one of the reasons they're gone. They have a bottle deposit nearby. They built a bunch of different safe rest villages.
Oh yeah. Those bottle deposits, they're mayhem. Like some people still go to like drop their stuff off there and I'm like all the stories that I hear about that area, like about all I guess it depends on which one you would go to, but I couldn't tell you like of a legit like, oh, this is a nice area where I feel safe in Portland, Oregon.
They built a place called Blackburn Center that is supposed to be sober housing. It is. There are drug overdoses there like 3 to 4 times a week. I talked to Portland Fire about that. When people get off the max to go get treatment, like post detox, there are
Yeah.
drug dealers trying to put fentanyl in their hands. The entire
Yeah.
neighborhood,
I'm not
people who
yeah.
live around there, I feel horrible for them.
It's so
When I
bad.
drive on, it's 121st. I mean, I don't know that anybody who watches this and lives in Portland care about that, but that
Hit me.
particular road, I cannot drive on after dark generally without being extremely careful because you can hit someone on the road because they are high, out of their mind,
Yeah.
fallen into the street, whatever the situation is. There's been shootings. I mean, they have completely ruined the neighborhood. So in Portland, there are situations where the government just decides we're here to help, and they completely take the businesses. I mean, I told you about big corporations, but there's small businesses in there that have really suffered. I mean, we know
Yeah,
property owners
yeah.
that have just been like, we're out of here. So the
So
policies really harm people.
yeah, so Reed, try to pull up the video that Angela's talking about. I wanna direct people there in case they have any
Oh, it is
questions and
so
like to
far
see
in
it
my feed. Sorry.
themselves. No, no, you're good. Reed will find it. He's a wizard. So I I I remember walking down the street and seeing all these bottles, constantly empty bottles, and I just like, where are all these bottles? Why are there all these bottles?
Bottles.
But
Yeah.
can you just
Just
explain that?
if you can imagine, it's just a lot of times when I drive past some of the places, you can just see just it. What are the big black trash bags of bottles, and it's just people, just stacks of them everywhere. And it's cool that it's being put to something, but I mean, not if they're exploiting it, obviously. And where is all that going? Is it actually being recycled? Because who knows at this point?
Very briefly for people to make that more clear for why there are so many empty plastic bottles everywhere in Portland?
Yeah, so generally they're normally caps that you find. So you think of
You
like,
know what else we got? Cones, traffic cones everywhere. Traffic cones for days. Doesn't even have to be construction, just cones. Just cones. Just traffic cones. Why not? Oh, you you got a nice little business over there? Hey, we're gonna hit you with some traffic cones. Oh, cars don't go through there. Don't matter. Traffic cones.
a water bottle that you get at Costco, the big ones that you might take to a party because you're doing, you have a summer outing, but you don't want to do glasses or something. And so a lot of times they'll just take them, dump them out, leave the caps where they are,
Oh yeah,
and
food.
you'll see it's completely wet and there's caps, but they're taking all those in for 10 cents a piece because we have a bottle deposit situation here. It's interesting. Oregon was the first state, if I recall properly, to have a bottle deposit. And this, I believe, was I should know this offhand. I've studied it, but you forget dates. I think it was like
Yeah,
1970s, maybe early
yeah.
1980s.
Oh
But
wow.
currently, we
It's
have
way
over
later than I thought.
70% of our bottles are at curbside. So, so we continue to do this to not have bottles out. But even curbside day, we wait to take our recycling out because you have people that go through your trash and recycling and then leave a big mess out at your curb. And I don't know about
Right.
you, but I don't want somebody going through my stuff, even though
Yeah,
technically
okay.
it's not mine if it's at the curb.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'm
that's
trying to
I
get
see that a lot. People just going through like your trash. It's like at one point it's like, well, I don't give a shit. It's not mine. But then when they just leave it everywhere and it's just scattered throughout like someone's like in front of your yard or something, it's like, okay, well, I didn't sign up for this. So now I just got to start like beating them off whenever they try to like dig through the trash. It's like, what? We got to keep on like trash watch? What is this?
give the most possible charitable interpretation
You might
of
be
this
asking
whole
the wrong
phenomenon.
person.
Excuse me. No, no. Sorry, I have something in my throat. I apologize.
That's all right.
I'm trying to give the most charitable interpretation possible of all this. Thanks, Reed. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
And yeah, we try to like you do have a
Um,
heart until it gets out of hand. And you're like, well, what the
so
hell are we supposed to
and
do?
I'm folding my arms because I have a bad shoulder. People say I'm being defensive, but I have my shoulders killing me constantly. So
Sorry to hear it.
yeah, I know, but I'm a moron because I keep my drink. So is the reason that people do this, is it primarily motivated by this idea that we should be compassionate to people? And is the argument that the progressives would make, and I would love to have a progressive on the show, but virtually nobody will talk to me. Is the
They won't.
argument that the
Either
reason
100% agree with them or you're out
Yep.
in every way.
yeah,
You're a monster otherwise. And you just have to learn to not care. And then once you realize that what they say doesn't matter, you can actually come to the side and be like, oh, it's okay to laugh at them. It is okay to laugh at them because everything's been absurd for at least the last 10 years.
Yeah. Or they don't like my own personal
They don't like
hypothesis is
critical
too
thinking.
strong. Yeah, well, they don't like to be challenged on their beliefs.
No, they like critical theory as an absolute. They don't like critical thinking. It's the opposite.
Because that's a form
Mhm.
of hegemony. Um,
Sorry to
so
interrupt you, Peter.
no, that's fine. Is the reason that they would give for why the city is falling apart because
Nomad land,
drug
sir?
addicts go to the city, whereas they don't go to other cities like because they offer services to help them. So
No,
there's no.
it's like on
Is
the
that the
one
reason
side.
they'd give?
I think that I think this is a big. There is a bit of a divide in that you believe in housing first. You think that it will work if you just have enough money. We have to build more housing so that we can house these people. I'm going to say something that's controversial for some people. I mean, to me, that sounds like eventually socialism to the extent of communism, like the state's controlling
No,
everything, all property. There's really not a lot of
no, she's right about that.
building going on here because the private sector is really in trouble. It's very expensive and it's anti-business climate, but the government keeps building. We have plenty of housing. The housing that we have is expensive because they keep increasing prices. But to your question, I think that what we're talking about is that the government is making money on these programs. When you start thinking about 33% of all Oregonians being on, say, Medicaid, and how many people are on food assistance and also rent assistance, etc. The part about the class that works, and there's always going to be people who can't. There's the class that works is not able to continue to support this.
It's not
The
sustainable.
balance isn't there. Government, I don't have the stat rate in front of me. If I looked, I could probably find it on some notes here, but government has grown I do remember government has grown by like 30% here. And
Oh
since
man, I gotta
2020,
keep
and like
track of time.
economically, that's just government just getting bigger. Whereas we've lost
Right.
populace and our tax base is down because there's a mass exodus out of here. People are scared and you can't prosper in this very well. I mean, I respect people that can. If you're There's a lot of businesses that have really been impacted, and I would say that if you are working in the public sector, you're continuing to get cost of living increase kind of things. And so many, I mean, we're really talking about homelessness, but I would say that there's all kinds of policies. Whenever we talk
Sure.
about
Sure.
our
100%.
immigration
Sure.
policy, we have given people that don't have citizenship
Mm.
first time like down payments for houses. I'm not kidding. This was
No,
a
I
big
know. I
story
know.
we broke about a year ago. And we give them health insurance. And I know that this is really for people a blue versus a red issue. And I'm sorry, but what I'm telling you is that there are a lot of people that are 50% of Oregonians are living month to month. This is not Washington or California where we don't have as much wealth as those states. We've been a petri dish for all of these progressive ideas, people paying for it from outside of Oregon, and they just want to try it here because we have a very low propensity for our voters to be involved. We're kind of like,
Ah,
leave us alone. We're in the wilderness,
glad
all
you
those
said that.
things. But the government wants to grow,
It's fair.
and
Yeah.
it does, and it continues to. And it is really it's gluttony here. It really is, and it doesn't seem to matter how many people get harmed. And there's a lot of cognitive dissonance about like the common sense of the problem.
Okay, so let me push back on that and ask a question. So the people of New York have elected a mayor. Whatever
Mr.
you think of the
Mayor.
mayor, he was democratically elected. As
He
far as
was.
I know, there's no claim of voter fraud or anything like that. And the people of New York are now getting what they deserve. The people of Oregon consistently vote in the same people. So isn't it reasonable to say that in democratic systems they're getting what they deserve?
So I hate this point because I hear it all the time. You voted
Please,
for this. And I'm
please
like, wait a second. No, I
push
am a
back, please.
American. No, just hear me out because it works me up. Let me just be worked up for a second. Like,
Sure.
I didn't vote for this. I'm an American and I have like we are based in a country of that the people, their ingenuity and their ability to work and prosper and liberty should not be infringed upon. We are politically captured here. They have sort of broken the game in thousands of ways that it's so hard for us to even get any type of input that they care about. They just keep sort of going and going and going and implementing these things every single week right now. And I am 100% not exaggerating. We are having conversations about more taxes and fees. We are
Exactly.
second in taxes only to New York City. And what about the people that not everybody votes for this? As a matter of fact, depending on the policy, it's not even 60% are voting for it. So what about our rights? And then people say, well, then you should move. And I'm like, well, maybe I should fight before this spreads all over the United States, because it seems to me it is.
Well, that's my attitude. That's one of the reasons I do what I do, because I fight back against this. We
Yep.
interview people, we talk to people, we're trying to fight back against a myriad of problems. One of a few things that you said I want to pick up on. I think they're super interesting. Why do you think that people think that communism is the best way to be empathetic and to be compassionate? And so you've put out a tweet
Yeah.
that Reed will pull up here. It's seen in downtown Portland yesterday,
Oh,
having
dear
communist
God.
insignia on one's car without any license plates perfectly epitomizes.
I see the dumbest shit here in Portland. It's like people calling each other comrades. It's like, oh, ugh, ugh. It's like you're kids. Stop it.
Anarcho-communism. Why do people think that communism is a way to be compassionate? Like, I don't get that. Is that just
I think there is an
historical
entire
illiteracy or what?
there is an entire ethos of entitlement. Like, you get points if like you're a minority or things have been hard for you. And like, I come from a place where it's like we all have had different adversity, and sure, some of us worse than others, but it's all about overcoming and also like providing in community instead of saying, well, these people have it good and so you owe me. And that's really what's going on here. I think it's this general idea that everyone owes you something. People need to, everybody, you have it better. So you need to provide to me. And people have lost, everything that builds people. When you meet people that are really doing great in terms of their spiritualness and their kindness to others and so forth, like they have rose.
They don't live in Portland.
They have rose through adversity, and sure, other people have helped them, but it's not about being given. Like, we are robbing people of their own satisfaction and being happy by not giving them paths to prosperity instead of, oh, I'm just going to give it to you. And don't get me wrong, I definitely think there's people in our society that we need to care for. I know even some of these people that are outside, they've used drugs to the point that, it's not even clear if the mental illness started first or the homelessness. We have elderly, we have people who can't work. Like,
Sure,
I'm sort of
100%.
taking that. So I totally agree with social programs from that perspective. But in my state, every day, there are situations where people are really provided for that should be more putting their shoulder to the wheel and not being robbed of the opportunity to find their way, because it's about who you become as a result of your free agency and your success in life. That's how I see it.
Yeah, we don't teach that. We don't teach that kind of resilience, that kind of grit in schools. It's interesting, the idea that you're owed something when you're born in the United States. This is the problem when people don't know how to reason. Someone from outside the United States could say that people, even poor people in the United States, owe them something because they're born out of the United States in worse conditions.
Right.
So it's that I blame that. I don't think that's the
Victim
human
Olympics.
condition. I think that's part of how we've institutionalized various narratives and viewpoints in our educational system, which has failed people. Okay, so we've talked about homelessness, we've talked about business, we've talked about the mayor of Portland being, I mean, I don't know, Ted Wheeler was just
Retarded.
inconceivable to me that anybody could vote for that man. He was just. What other problems? How else are progressive policies hurting the city of Portland in specific and Oregon more generally?
So we currently have a block
Oh
of
God.
Democratic Socialists of America on city council. They passed a ranked choice voting initiative within the city of Portland, and it was supposed to make it
Typically,
sort of
it's a
move
good thing.
more people in each district. You know, different blocks of people would have a voice, but really what happened is we have a very progressive
Yeah.
and even
I was gonna say, well, and it's only the same group of people. You're gonna end up with one of those people.
like socialist bloc within city council, and they've definitely had complaints because they have been meeting outside of public meetings and so forth, and so there's been ethics complaints, and we've had press about that, but they are very intent on, for example, they just had something where they were trying to pass it so you couldn't have foie gras, the
Oh
duck
yeah.
liver
Oh,
in
oh,
Portland. They just focused on some money was found that wasn't used on housing, and they put it towards more rent assistance to keep people from being evicted. They've been doing this since 2020. I mean, we know people who just do not pay their rent. And it's like, well, really, I mean,
well, and I think that also ties into squatters as well, squatters' rights, and it just emboldens them, and it makes things a lot worse. You never really see the negative aspects of it until it's put into practice. And I mean, you see a lot of them. I mean, at least lately, it's like some of this shit's so simple. It's like, well, you know what's gonna happen. It's like, all right, and then yeah, and then it happens. They're like, how could this happen? But a lot of times too, there's many more negative repercussions that come from it that you couldn't foresee until you actually put it into practice. Like the exploitation we were talking about earlier, that one I was like, oh yeah, never really thought about that with the bottle deposit. It does make sense. They probably just go out there, dump it out, bring it right back in, get their 10 cents.
I don't always like working. I actually like working a lot, to be honest with you, but sometimes I'd like to sit around and not work. But I mean, this builds good people. Like, we all got a job to do in the community. I think even
So
when it's just, again, it goes back to just this thinking that like it's easy for everybody else and it's hard for me and I need mine. And there is no
what do
free
you mean
lunch
they
in
don't?
government.
What do you mean they don't pay rent? Like, how do
We
you live without paying rent? Like,
The government has been, our
They
local
can't
government and
evict you.
city has been doing these programs that give eviction assistance for, I mean, 6 years that I know about. And they just keep pushing money towards it. Well, these people are going to be evicted.
I think it started with COVID because like people couldn't really keep up with the bills, so it was kind of like a sympathy, like a temporary sympathy assistance type idea, to where it's like, well, it would be heartless of us to kick them out during COVID. This is ridiculous. What are they supposed to do? Yeah, how else are they supposed to pay their bills if they can't go to work? So let's just make it temporarily. Like you just can't kick them out. And I think it just never went away. And that's kind of the epitome of a lot of government implementations. They don't just go away.
So a lot of our money that comes in for homeless service, not a lot, but there's a portion of this $750 million that is kept to keep people from being evicted, that they call them marginalized because things are so expensive. But as you probably know, anytime the government administers something, it's more expensive and it's less efficient, and it's not accountable at all. But I think anybody in any other city would say, well, there's less accountability than there is in the private sector where you got to sink or swim. And so the
so
more we add to all this, the more expensive it gets. And it's just a colossal mess.
Mm-hmm.
so I think I know the answer, which is
It's Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid, when it's like they need surgery. They need At this point, they just need amputation because you made it so much worse.
Taxpayer, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. So who's paying for that?
Yeah, the taxpayer. The taxpayer and the business owners. You know, we have two taxes here. Let me get these right. We have one for supportive housing measure that was voted in. So it's a lot of money. And 10% goes to Metro, who administrates it, which is another level of government we arguably don't need. And so this money is supposed to go to, you know, support people in housing. But the way that it's taxed is if you're a single person, I think it's $125,000 that you would make, which nowadays is, you know, you're doing all right, but it's not wealth. And if you're a household and you're making 250, I think it's 1% of your net. Is it gross
Oh,
or net?
wow.
You know, it's just there's so many taxes that are sort of tax the wealthy. And
And it
not only are a lot of the people being taxed not wealthy,
trickles
but
right back onto
also
us.
they just pick up their marbles and leave.
Exactly. Exactly. When I was trying to explain this to people back in like, when was it? Like it was 2019. It was about Bernie. And I was like, I don't like the policies because the taxes always end up on us. And I remember somebody at work being like, well, I don't think you make enough for that to be affected on you. And it's like, well, maybe not today, but if he were to be elected, maybe in a couple of years once everybody leaves. And then honestly, a lot of it just ends up on us anyway. So
Right. Yeah, that's what happened when the CEO of Starbucks, who's has all these crazy social justice policies, announced when the mayor of Seattle said that there's going to be a wealth tax. He just moved to a state without it,
yeah,
and he brought his woke policies with him. So I guess my question is, I mean, just taking a step back, like, what an absolute catastrophe. I remember
Yeah.
I got a Multnomah County homeless tax before I left, and I had no, you know, I had to come up with that money. I had no idea that I was going to be. I just and the interesting thing, the thing that utterly enraged and infuriated me about that was that day. The 24 hours before that, my car got broken into, and what they used to do is they used to smash the window of my car, and I
Yeah.
think this was like among the final straws. I hadn't there were many final straws, but I really wanted to stay in the city of Portland and fight for it. But it just became impossible. I mean, you know, everyone's complaining about the system, but the system. I mean, there were too many people. But anyway,
yeah,
so
yeah.
but the deductible for when my car was broken didn't cover. So I had to pay. I can't remember. I think it was like 250, and then my car was out for days, and it just kept happening. And then I got a
Yep.
housing tax on top of it. But I switching gears a little bit. I remember Rene Gonzalez was running for mayor, and he was threatened, he was harassed, and people said that he was on the right. Rene Gonzalez is like an inveterate leftist. He's like a
Yeah.
hardcore Democrat, like Democrat. He's a minority. He's like,
Not
He's been
and
left
a
enough.
Democrat his
Sorry,
whole life.
buddy.
Yeah. And he's just
You're a
pragmatic.
man.
You know, it's interesting about Renee is that one of the things that happened in his campaign is that they started to turn over to the press that there was all these campaign finance violations because we have this donor match thing where you have people donate, say, $5 and it's a 9-time match. And it's supposedly to keep big business out of the election so that real people can get elected. And they were saying things about Renee and how he spent money that was really unfair. And the auditor stepped aside because she was running, and the other person in the auditor's office was literally owned property and has been in a, from what I could gather, I think it was a romantic relationship, but definitely they lived together with the person that filed the complaint, who was over the pack that was "Don't Rank Renee." I mean, the actual city of Portland, the viper's nest of the attorney's office, participated in keeping Rene Gonzalez out of the mayoral job because they knew from his work as a city councilor that he knew what was going on and he was going to put a stop to it. And, you know, another note about you
God, why is the same story? It's the same story. It's like, oh, somebody good's coming in. Yeah, well, sorry, powers that be. The click don't want you in. Country club closing its doors.
moving, and I think you're being gracious, like talking about the window breaking and so forth.
Shit, I would take a Democrat. I would, but at this point, it's just like, if you identify as a Democrat, then oh boy, you're gonna have to do some hard explaining.
Like most people who fight hard enough here eventually move because it is
Yeah,
so intense the way they will
so
come after
true.
you.
Yeah, so
You're
true.
in the boat of, Andy, no.
Yeah,
I mean, there's whenever
Yeah,
we had the stuff going on at the ICE facility, a lot of the people that were covering it were from out of town. And me, I mean, I do speak out, but I also pick my battles because when they come, it's not that I'm afraid. It's just sometimes you're afraid, but other times it's like, this is really distracting. And then you're running interference on all the isms they're calling you, right? I mean, the
racist,
early terms were nicer,
bigot.
right? You're a NIMBY, you're a neo-Nazi, you're a Republican, you're anti-homeless. And then it comes into like just horrible things like you're fascist, you want children in Palestine to die, and you
Yep.
haven't even talked about Palestine. I
Yep.
mean, these
yeah,
people
I, know,
are,
I get
I
that.
mean,
I
like,
don't.
it's
Yeah.
just
Like, yeah,
it's rough.
I find that fascinating.
I think the new one that it's coming around is Zionist. It's like, oh dear God. It's like everything is like whatever is in your current week of life. If somebody's like, what are you talking about? Oh, you're against it. I'm just gonna call you the worst possible thing I can manifest in my own head.
So let's linger on that for a second because it's important. But first, I want to say thanks to the Canadian there, Canadian A. Thanks, Peter. You're an important voice right now because you use critical thinking first principles, which seem
Yeah.
to me and steep decline. Thanks, I
Word up on that.
appreciate that. That keeps the show funded. So I want to talk about something that you said. I was physically physically two groups of young men. I can't prove they're Antifa, but I strongly suggest they're Antifa. Cornered me. I eventually left because I tried to we're Reed and I and the nonprofit, we're trying to fight on kind of national global issues right now for the
Yeah.
United States, and so we're really working on these national issues. And but it is disheartening when I hear you say it because every single person I know meets what you just said, who lives in the city of Portland, is thinking about moving or has moved or wants to move. And it's disheartening, but we also need people to fight back, which is
Right.
so I'm trying to reconcile, like, how do you motivate people? What can someone do if they want to fight back against this progressive bureaucracy that's ideologically captured and doing just crazy stuff to the city of Portland? It's almost like they have a backward roadmap to success.
So here's how I've proceeded. So our particular PDX reel has been not only that we're doing local citizen journalism, but we're also activating people to know how to talk to people and also be armed with information. We have focused specifically on issues that people can agree with, moderates can agree with on all sides, which is
Like what?
basically
Like what? Give me an
affordability.
issue. Okay.
Affordability, big issue. Why is it not affordable here? Why is everything going up farther than it is in the United States? The other is we all can agree
Right on
about
the other side
public
of that.
safety. Like all of us love our family and we care about our own well being. So public safety is a big deal. So we spend a lot of time talking about those. And then also, like when you're compassionate, it's like, I don't want people to suffer. So those have been our pieces that we've really focused on. And also just encouraging. I think the reason Portland is somewhat here, and this is a United States problem, but it's certainly here as well. And I'm over 50 now. And in my lifetime, it was just like the government was handled. There was that thing over there, and somebody
Yeah.
else does that.
Yeah.
And we just were not civically involved. We don't even know who does what the county does, what the city does, what the legislature does, who you interact with when there's a problem, and how you can change something or how you can make your voice heard. And so we've been working on those principles, which I think is a renaissance that, frankly, the United States needs. I consider it,
Totally.
as hard as it is here, I consider it almost a privilege to be here, because long after I'm gone, I feel that the work that we can do can warn people in other areas about what they need to be focused on and also what they need to be thinking about in terms of engagement. the trouble with government is if nobody is watching it and reporting on it and engaging in it, it just does what it wants to do. And it's not
Minnesota.
really set
Yeah.
up for it to help the people. You know, we talk
I just watched Nick Shirley's thing in California, and that one was pretty funny too. I think Minnesota was way better, but it's almost like they know he's coming now, so it's just kind of like they know the game that's being played. It was way better when it was day one, when it was just like they're caught in the act. God, that was funny.
a lot about
The Leering Center. I'll never get over that. The Leering Center. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
democratic policies, but I moved here because it was the most I moved here in 96. It was the most fabulous liberal city I had ever. I was so happy to be here.
I know.
It was
It was
clean and it was affordable
liberalism
and it was
done right.
artistic.
Safe.
Yeah,
It was safe.
it was safe. And
When did she say that was? Because I remember the 90s. It was actually really nice here.
here because it was the most I moved here in 96. It was the most
Sounds about right. Because when I actually moved here was 2012, and it was pretty rugged at that point. At least it was like definitely on the decline, but whew, 96. Because yeah, I was a little kid and I came and saw the city with my parents. I remember it was really clean. It was a really nice city, but I didn't really know much as a kid, so it's not like I really saw the ghetto or anything. But I assume it was much better, and all the neighborhoods were really nice. Everybody was nice. It seemed safe. You could kids could run down the street. You didn't have to worry about them.
fabulous liberal city I had ever. I was so happy to be here.
I know.
It was clean and it was affordable
liberalism
and it was
done right.
artistic.
Safe.
Yeah,
It was safe.
it was safe and nobody cared what your opinion was. It was just like,
Right.
just do your thing.
Yeah.
Just whatever you want to do, whatever you think, whatever. And then it turned into this like situation where it's like, we're in charge. And if you don't agree with us, you're bad. And we're going to say these names about you and we're going to ostracize you. And it has been for a lot of people, like really scared them. I find that with PDX Real, you know, Peter, like in some ways what was going on with you years ago, you know, we sort of knew each other through people then, and I've watched this whole thing, and by staying here I was like, we need to focus on what we can do. And I also noticed with some of the far left issues that engaging with them is like almost like a no sum game, because all they want to do a lot of times is get angry and fight. And it's like, I want to share ideas and I want to build something. I don't want to destroy things, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting listening to your talk. One of the things, I'm much older than you. I'm approaching 60 very quickly. But one of the things that well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. One of the things that I've learned in my life was I always assumed growing up, you know, I was born in 1966. I always assumed that like the police officers would try to catch criminals, the prosecutors would try to prosecute criminals, the judge would adjudicate, the penal system would incarcerate, the reform, the parole system. Like it was just. And then if I can tell you another quick.
Well, you assume the institutions were actually doing their job, and then you grow up and you're like, oh, no, they're actually the inverse of what they're there for. At least the timeline right now. It's yeah. I don't know if it was always that way with pretty much every major institution, but yeah. A lot of corruption takes over, and it seems like, yeah, no matter what, we can't avoid it.
Quick story. If you get bored of my stories, let me know. But
No.
one day when Mike Schmidt was the DA, my roommate had two of her
Schmitty.
cars stolen from one was in our driveway, I think, and the other one I think was parked on the street, if I remember correctly. And she had like this little van, and
Ooh, I think I found it.
they were just stolen. And so we waited, and finally they found one of the vehicles. And so I was in the room at the time, and she's on the phone on a recorded line. I can't remember if it was Clackamas or Gresham or something. And so she was talking to a police officer.
They made her pay impound, didn't they?
No, that's not where I was going with the story. Where I was going with the story was, about the failure of the system in the state of Oregon and in Portland specifically. My roommate said, and again, I'm in the room listening to the call. She said, have you found the people who stole the car? And the police officer said, no, we're not gonna look for them. And my
Right.
roommate said, well, what do you mean we're not going to look? Oh, you know where the story is going? Yeah. Like, what do you mean we're not going to look for them? Like, that's literally your job. Your job is to find criminals and look for them. She said, no, there's no point in looking for them because the Portland district attorney, Mike Schmidt, won't prosecute them. So you're not going to prosecute a car, like, this is not a random person on the street. This is a police officer
Yeah.
on a recorded line, a sworn, you swear the oath when you're a police officer. And it just, in that moment, I was completely blown away. Like, the whole system that I thought was set up so that citizens like myself did not have to think about it, I now have to think about it. And I now have to try to figure out how to fix this system. So,
well, especially in 2020, I was living in Oregon City at the time, and when the riots were going down, the peaceful protests, excuse me. Yeah. So Oregon City, they just weren't answering calls because all of the attention was just downtown. So there's like whatever crime was going on, unless somebody's being murdered, which I guess maybe if you were lucky, but yeah, no crime. Like a cop would not show up to your house, no matter what. So I started seeing quite a bit more crime happening around our place, and that's when we said, "Hey, we need to get the fuck out of here," and we did.
Yeah, and
I mean, it
now
was,
with
yeah.
and he was a sort of progressive outside the state funded district attorney. A lot of people would say, just to make it quick, like, oh, he's Soros funded, but it's a lot of the progressive money that comes in. And he was, even once we got him out, and we brought in somebody who is a practical prosecutor and does want to prosecute people. We've elected into our county people who are unfunding the jail, the criminal justice system. We have a quote unquote, the paper says, has been saying, we're having a public defender crisis, but it's an agency that the governor manages. And they're continuing not to do anything about this, even though we have more public defenders than DAs. What's really happening is they want to get paid more and they want to turn down cases to face pressure and all that. Like, the whole system,
it's so messed
like,
up.
brick by brick, they've broken down the system. Like,
Correct.
I guess without sounding conspiratorial, we have a lot of people that are working in our government who are also been elected that want to see this sort of changed, and some of them want anarchy.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
Is it okay if I tell you? I'm sorry, I'm telling you so many stories. Can I tell you one more story?
Yeah, please.
So I was driving home one night. It was late at night. I was driving home from my buddy's house. We used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and some guy. So there are those people. Some people call 911 like every day or every week and then there are people like me, like once every decade, call 911. So if I'm calling 911, serious shit is happening. Like,
right.
This is not a capricious call. So I'm driving home. It was late at night, and some guy was not only driving like a lunatic, he was throwing bottles at people. He was swerving. He was like driving like a lunatic. Unbelievably hostile. He must have been on some kind of drug. And so I call 911 and I am immediately on hold. And I'm on hold and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm on hold. This guy's going to hurt somebody. So I start following this guy. I'm not, an investigator or anything. I don't know how to tail people, but I did the best that I could. I guess I've watched enough movies. But sooner or later, and I'm still on at 911. 15 minutes later, I literally looked up at 15 minutes later, I'm still on 911. They haven't gotten to my call. This guy spots me and I'm like, holy shit. So, and then he starts coming at me and then I just sped away. But my point is, like, you shouldn't have to be on a call 16 minutes for 911 before they pick up an answer, because this guy's going to literally hurt somebody.
So I want to stress to you, you're telling stories that I would say are 2022 and before stories. The way this has progressed, I have right now friends that have had family members murdered and there is no investigation. You did hear me say that. The detectives are still working from home.
What was I just saying a little bit ago? In 2020, it was like, I think it was like if you were lucky, and that was during the riot. So now I'm like, It's just gotten so much worse. That's crazy to think about.
Since before 2020, pretty much all of our government work. Can you imagine being a detective working at home? And literally, like, these phone numbers are they might as well go to hell. Like, you don't even hear from these people. Like, it's horrible situations like this where it's like really serious things. The property and crime and damage and vandalizing and also just reckless driving has continued, but it has also gone to the point where there's like retaliatory fires. You've got people, squatting in
Yeah.
homes whenever things are under real estate. You've got murder investigations, nothing's done. You've got major assaults where people are let go the next day for trial. And they have, I remember the top one I found was 45 failures to appear of one person. They just kept getting him on warrant and taking him back in and releasing them and telling them to show up
All
for
right,
court.
guys.
He's
See you
an
next
addict.
week.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care right
Yeah.
now in the state he's in. So it is
I shouldn't laugh, but it's so absurd. Like 45. Yeah. Hey, Gary. See you again? Yeah. Hop in the car. But yeah. And then just let him out. Yeah. Right back to it. 45 times.
progressed to death, life and death at this point
Ah.
in some cases.
Yeah.
And if you're unlucky, you're in a bad neighborhood. I respect that. I respect that like, I remember that period of time, but it's just kind of making me recollect on kind of how crazy it's gotten. We had a situation where we knew somebody. We have whistleblowers that call us all the time, but Portland has only a few degrees of separation, as I think it's not huge. And I got a call from someone who is by marriage related to a bar, like a neighborhood bar in North Portland. They have I want to say 7 to 9 cameras at this place, indoors, outdoors, etc. There was a robbery when they opened up on a Sunday with the bartender. Nobody was there. A guy came in, was playing video poker. Another left. Another man came in with a machete and robbed her with the knife. Knew where the safe was in the basement in one of the rooms that
Wow.
was marked as an electrical room. The immigrant owners of this business hadn't been to the bank yet. And they also have lottery machines there. So the state requires that you have so much payout on hand. I believe it was $30,000 that they got away with. The victim, honestly, the owner thought that the bartender was in on it. The bartender, I had stayed in contact with her in addition to the family, just telling the story.
Holy
And
crap.
one of her friends, she had paid attention to his tattoos and his shoes and like really his watch and certain things about him that were very distinctive. And one of her friends found him on a dating site. Facebook has its dating, and it was very clear, like same hat, same shoes, same whatever. I called the detective myself, represented who I
Oh, wow.
was,
Good for
um,
you.
and gave all the information. They literally never did anything about it. I'm not exaggerating. It was very thorough.
Be-
It was very
For
cut and
fear of
dry.
racism? Was it a fear
Uh,
of racism or just
he was
incompetence or
that
They probably just didn't give a shit.
he was a white man.
so it wasn't that? So what was
Yeah, they just don't care. I was gonna say, I bet you it had nothing to do with race. It's just, meh, meh. Well, working from home now, so I'm not gonna work on that type thing.
so why didn't they just were they understaffed? What was the reason they just or they didn't give you any reason? They're like,
I think it's just that everybody. This is me speaking, but I
yeah,
think it's just retirement's coming soon, and I'm just going to do the minimum. And the city's, it is what it is. People are
that's
not held
heartbreaking.
accountable to do their job. We gave them a
It's so effed, and it's like what we were talking about earlier. People really are just that heartless, and it's so hard to believe. And I feel like I lived so much of my life just being naive to it, and then it's just like you wake up one day and you're like, really? It is that dark, isn't it? It's like, oh man. hard to accept, but at some point it's better to accept it than just keep running away from it and putting your head in the sand.
Open and shut case. And I'm just giving you one example. There's been other examples like this, like as a, because I'm a, community journalist, but I'm also sort of an activist. I mean, I care about these people, and what's
Sure,
happening.
of
And
course.
so we try to get results for them. And, that one of the murders I was talking to you about is one of my dearest girlfriends whose nephew was murdered and shot and
I'm really
killed.
sorry.
She got
I'm so sorry.
911. While he died, there was a recording.
Yeah.
It's sick. It's sick. And in the meantime, they're saying, well, we just need more money. In the meantime, what is it?
Yeah, more
$8
money.
billion is our budget here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, just more money. Just need more money. That's just the answer for everything. It's like,
Same size in Wisconsin is 5 billion. Like, it's just our money is being spent on a lot of pet projects, a lot of ideology, and not on basic infrastructure. And then they're always coming after more with their pity party. It's really sick. It's very sick. I mean, it's taxation without representation.
makes you realize we live in a wicked, wicked world, and it's up to us to actually turn it over and fix it.
I can't wait. I can't wait until we turn this around.
Well,
I really
Yeah, well, we
can't.
have to.
Like,
You
I'm
have to.
so
You have to
on it
keep.
around.
You have to keep fighting. I mean, I'm on to different battles. But Reed, let's pull up some of those comments. I want to thank some people.
Everybody's got a job to do, Peter Boghossian.
Yeah, well, thank you. I know. Melissa Jones, hey, welcome. Thanks for becoming a member. We appreciate it. And Mushy Season, friend of the show. Irish coffee for Reed. Reed needs extra Irish coffee. And then Nathaniel Howlett, 10. Hey, Peter, thanks for your work. Been following your career since the so-called Squared affair and can't fathom why I haven't supported you financially this far. Thanks. I really sincerely appreciate that. Carry on, Solder. Much love from Nate from Canada. Awesome, bro. Thanks. And then, friend of the show. I think he changed his name. Nia Opsis 499. The PDX base will dwindle to nothing. Like you say, no federal bailout at some point. They will vote in change, hopefully. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about the communism, something in communism. And is the solution to this, let's see, is the solution to this problem, can this be fixed by voting for the right wing? Is it like what?
I don't think so. I mean, like, well, first of all, thinking about a red Portland. Brain just malfunctions thinking about that sort of thing. They were talking about red California, and it's like, what? Is that and I guess if there's no other options, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's a weird thing to think about, and I don't know. It might help a couple things, but I don't think it's a long-term solution. It just never seems to be.
What is this? What is the solution to the problem?
Yeah. So, number one, like on a good note, because we've talked a lot about what's not working. So, we just had our state legislature, this involves Portland too, work to pass a transportation tax when they were spending a lot of the money not on roads and bridges, but they were spending the money on sort of bike lanes and multimodal things and DEI, et cetera. And so, we already have a lot of gas tax. We pay very high gas prices here. And so we came together as citizens for what you call a referendum, which is we put together a petition. I covered this for 8 months, but during the legislative session, they did everything they could to get this to pass because they have the super majority. And then whenever they knew that we were going to, we had it was over 80% of the letters that came in were in opposition. I mean, the state is just completely against more taxes on the gas. Gas taxes affect everything. We came together and signed in 38 days. We got over 250,000 signatures to push back to put it on the ballot so the people can vote. So the people of Oregon are coming together. We are coming together of sound mind on similar issues that enough is enough. Government growth and more cost of living is not going to be better for Oregonians across the board. And you were asking generally about, the minority party. I personally have been a registered libertarian for some time. It's a philosophy for me. A lot of people here are non-affiliated voters, and certainly we have a very
Mm,
big Democratic base,
mm.
particularly in Portland, and Eugene, and Bend is growing in that too. But conservative Republican, quote unquote, uh, people here are not the same as other parts
Got
of
a
the
bug.
country.
Where
They
is he?
tend to be very liberal in social issues. Um, it's the great frontier out here, right? And so it's right now it's about we have a governor election that's coming in November.
Right,
And so
right, right.
we've been encouraging people to think about, we have a closed primary, being part of the minority party so they can vote in the primary and pick a good candidate that will stand against what is the status quo with our governor, who's an incumbent. There does
Mm,
not seem to be any pullout of the direction they're going, no matter how much the people protest. As a matter of fact, our governor did things like called special sessions on weekends where people are
oh, that's right.
testifying on
Yeah.
Sundays, not
Right, right,
showing,
right.
bringing in legislators that would vote how she wanted them to, who had strokes, and one of them that was in hospice that passed away. They are brutal. So we covered that in
Right.
vivid detail.
It's a
So
gnat.
citizens,
Looking
by the
for him.
time we did the petition gather, were really fired up. We had thousands of volunteers, and we broke Oregon history doing it. So I
Excellent,
do think
excellent.
people have had it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're a little over here, but I wanted to just very quickly, is there anything I shouldn't ask you that is there
thought I got
anything
him.
I didn't ask you that I should have asked you, or is there anything you want to ask me?
When are you coming back to visit?
Good question. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure when I'm gonna come back next.
Let me
But
know.
okay, cool. Yeah, we'll all go out.
I'll show
That'll be
you
fun.
around.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Show me around. You can show me around the homeless encampments and the yeah. I'm not
Be a walk in the park.
I'm not
There's other things
sure.
besides the homeless encampments. I'll show you a good time too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Honestly, the food here is still amazing. The coffee here still pretty damn good, for the most part. I don't really do Dutch Bros or Starbucks anymore, but there's a few good spots here. Country coffee is really good if anybody's looking for good coffee. Um, but yeah, food still pretty damn good here. You can still find really good food here. PDX sliders. Oh, we haven't been back there yet. Need to go back there. Rigoberto's, real good. What else we got? Mike's Drive-In was always really good. Need to go get a milkshake. Might have to do that this weekend. But yeah, it is a problem in Portland. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, like it's all up to them. It really is. It's like the ball's in your court. You guys got to figure out what you want to do moving forward, because we've sounded the alarms for long enough, and now we're just kind of spectating mode, and yeah, I don't know what comes of it. But it is already about that time. I got to get back to editing reels, because I've been without a computer for a week about. So I'm going to get back to editing reels, and I'll be back on tomorrow to stream and probably just have a little fun, maybe a little more catching up as well.